Hello and welcome to The Stack. And this week I'm taking you all to the great media city of New York. We speak with the editor-in-chief of WSJ magazine, the smart, fashionable title from the Wall Street Journal. Plus, we speak with the founder of a new image reference library in the city, where you can find the best of the best when it comes to vintage magazines. And finally, a preview of Case Sensitive, a new conference dedicated to shaping the future of print titles. Enjoy the show. From Midori House in London, this is The Stack, 30 minutes of print industry analysis, and I am Fernando Augusto Pacheco. A busy show indeed. Of course, it's our New York special. We start the show talking to Sarah Ball, editor-in-chief of the WSJ magazine, the cool publication from the Wall Street Journal. This weekend, their new issue comes out with the paper featuring the buzzy cover story with Sydney Sweeney. Sarah tells me how the paper keeps investing in the title, what her autumn print schedule looks like for the magazines, and a few highlights of this issue. Here is Sarah with more.
Well, it's been a whirlwind 2.5 years that I've been in this role as the editor-in-chief of WSJ. But I first came to the magazine in 2018, actually, so 7 years ago. The magazine was looking for its inaugural digital director. It had never kind of expanded digitally and didn't have a kind of, robust digital presence. It was very alive across social, but not across the journal's site, which, as you know, because the Wall Street Journal is a huge global news organization, the site is a really powerful engine. And Christina O'Neill, the editor-in-chief at the time, and Matt Murray, the editor-in-chief of the paper at the time, both had kind of worked together with some forces on our business side to help establish a digital presence for the magazine. So I hopped over in 2018. I was working as the editorial director of GQ at Condé Nast. I'd been at Condé for close to 10 years at that point. And I came over to help them start a digital version and a digital complement to the magazine.
I was thinking about the importance of the magazine for the brand and for the newspaper. And a perfect example is the new issue, which comes out this weekend in the United States with Sydney Sweeney on the cover. Literally everyone was talking about, that cover story and, what she said on the article, even before the article came out. So that's quite an interesting one, right?
I think it is interesting for us because we are associated with a global news brand and news organization. So for us, steering into the news cycle is a huge win. I know when I talked to Emma, our editor, about this cover upcoming, and she was really excited, and we looked at the photographs together. And then a few weeks later, when the sort of news around Sydney started picking up, she and I were both like, oh my gosh, the cover is really going to be at the center of the conversation. So I think we steer into the news, even as we explore topics of luxury, lifestyle, culture, travel. We try to be as close to the kind of news cycle as possible and really produce something that not only our Wall Street Journal subscribers and readers, who we know love news and love to be at the center of the conversation, will enjoy and spend time with, but also to attract new readers to the journal and, to use our kind of vehicles of cultural journalism to attract the next generation of people who love success and stories of success.
And besides, the cultural aspect, I feel the Wall Street Journal in general, they are focusing as well on investing more in style in general, including, of course, the magazine, which also has those incredible photo shoots. And it does talk about the world of luxury, which is very important. And I think the readers of the paper are interested in those topics, right? How do you feel about that increasing investment of the Wall Street Journal when it comes to style?
It's such an interesting and good question, because I think when the journal's obviously, it goes beyond a legacy brand. It's, it has such rich history, and it started as a place that provided financial and business journalism to help you make investments in the sort of literal industrial revolution in the US, and kind of has grown and grown and grown, but was later than other peer newspapers or other media organizations to embrace weekend journalism, lifestyle journalism, style journalism, sort of what you do in your time outside of work. And you saw over the past 20 years, the journal has launched some amazing, delightful weekend type read sections Mansion is one of my favorites that covers home and property. Off Duty, that covers how to live sort of a beautiful, luxurious, happy and content life. It's full of service journalism. The Magazine, which was launched a little over 15 years ago. So it's added these products in the last 25 years that speak to, how to kind of spend your wealth, if the main paper is speaking to how to accrue your wealth or how wealth is accrued or lost. But I think that the next dial turn for us that we particularly embraced in my team. And my team is not just producing the magazine, it's also producing style and entertainment coverage for the app and site and newspaper every day. So we do both. We have, daily responsibilities as well as the glossy issue 9 times a year. What we really believe is that there's not that bifurcation anymore in a reader's life where it's like 5 days a week I work and I care about success and work, and 2 days of the week I care about weekendy things and leaning back and leisure. We really feel that people want those sort of juicy reads or beautiful culture inspiring stories throughout the week, throughout the hours, in the evening, in the morning. We kind of believe it's a part of your daily news diet now in a way that maybe 25 years ago you would not. You'd have your kind of weekend section and you'd have your weekday and media diet. So I think for Emma's vision in terms of what the paper foregrounds every day of the week, and for our vision in terms of how we feed into that, we really feel like there's always an opportunity to entertain and delight and inform and serve as that kind of taste and inspiration for somebody every day, every hour, which is a lot of work for our team of journalists, but is really rewarding.
And to have some fun as well, because I want to mention as well the new issue, besides, of course, the story that everyone wants to read of Sydney Sweeney. I was kind of, surprised and happy to read the one about Becca Bloom because, when I saw her on social media, it was very random. I was like, who is this girl? I want to know a bit more about it. And, a story from the WSJ magazine kind of, is super interesting, that specific story, actually.
I'm so glad you read it. I think, first of all, it's a dream for a journalist, a reporter's dream to be the first person to profile a subject. And that was what the story was. This is the first time Becca has ever given an interview. She is relatively new to the TikTok scene, to the creator scene. You saw her go from sort of no following to overnight millions of followers just by living this really opulent and lavish lifestyle, but being very relatable and funny about her wealth and about, she has a 9 to 5. She has a job. She is a Gen Z, employee with a corporate life, but then also has an incredibly fun and luxurious and inspiring social life. And life with, she's about to get married. She has an incredible closet. She both goes on trips to acquire beautiful handbags and jewelry, but then she also is on the real. So she's this real combination of very relatable, but very aspirational. And I think our reporter, Lane Florsheim, who did an incredible job with this story, spent a lot of time with Becca. That's such a luxury when you're covering someone who's not fortified by an enormous amount of barriers to access. Like you can't ever get access to them. Becca was so giving with her time. She did a photo shoot with us in Paris. She wore lots of amazing clothes. And she was just really refreshing to talk to about how Gen Z sees wealth and why she has a following and what the kind of etiquette is around talking about success. And I think it's something a lot of our readers will read with interest. We do have very successful high net worth individuals reading the Wall Street Journal, but we also have people who want to be and who are aspirant. And I think it kind of serves both of those groups.
Absolutely, because, I'm sure she has quite a young demographics that would like her social media profile. And I think that's the cool thing about the WSJ magazine. I mean, you're talking to kind of different ages, I would say, as well.
Yeah, I think someone like Becca and someone like Sydney, these are people that both of them are people that, your mom might be interested in, but also, a 19-year-old would be interested in, but also your grandmother maybe sees in the news. I think there's a cross-generational spectrum to who's interested in these stories. At least we try to write them both for the specific audiences that are interested in culture and in fashion and in social media and in success, but also for a general readership of the journal who maybe just wants to read an incredibly well-written story that's visually sumptuous and hopefully memorably told.
As spring lovers that we all are, you have a very exciting fall coming up as well. I know the women's fashion title is coming out this weekend, but there will be plenty more print titles till Christmas, right?
That's right. I have Gosh, fall is so busy for us. It's always,
Yes,
I
it's
kind
a
of
good
always,
season.
it's a good season, but it's dog days of August right now. And it already feels like I'm in my fall burgundy here. I already feel like fall has started because it's such a busy time for us. We have another issue out in September that's filled with really juicy enterprise stories and some great, sumptuous, beautiful men's fashion that will tilt toward the men's fashion side of things. Two of our biggest features in that are already out. We just did a story about the sort of New York crypto bro kidnapping, which are these guys that it's a wild caper kind of crime adjacent feature piece, as well as a story on David Geffen's divorce and his no prenup $9 billion fortune that is looking to be divided. So these are kind of our huge, juicy, shareable enterprise stories that have come out in the last week. But we have some amazing cover subjects that I can't quite reveal yet, as well as our Innovators issue and award, which is October 29th. We give out awards to between 7 and 9 people who have influentially shaped the culture for 2025. And particularly this year, each individual and recipient has truly had a benchmark success year for themselves. It's kind of a really outstanding class of people who each had a business inflective narrative that touches the culture, that really showcased true innovation in business. So I'm very excited about that. I'll be glad to get to December when things calm down again. But right now it's the sprint through the next 3 months of fall.
And I did mention before the word investment and the Wall Street Journal. And the reason why I'm asking, I did look online this year that, you hired some new members of the team. For example, Willow Lindley as style director, correct if I'm wrong. And that's pretty cool, right? That shows that there's a title that wants to grow and making few changes here and there. But it's quite an interesting time for your magazine.
I think the fact that we are growing and hiring is such an asset. I think the journal overall, so not just the magazine, but I think the journal overall is in a position where Emma has set her vision for all different kinds of storytelling. And we're now so lucky that people want to kind of be a part of that. And I'm a beneficiary of that. But I also, a dream goal for me is to be a talent magnet and to attract people who want to work for me and want to work for this magazine, who want to creatively express themselves in a really resourced, supported place, but that still has a bit of a scrappy energy, given that we are, we're here in the newsroom, but we're a little adjacent to it. It's not the same as the core financial markets coverage. We're doing a kind of different thing over here, but it's very creative, very expressive. And Willow is a great hire. Willow, both, and Matteo Mobilio, who joined me from Highsnobiety. The two of them are here to kind of help put a creative vision out there that reaches new audiences, young audiences, but that still is aspirational, luxurious, top production quality. We're so lucky to work with some of the best fashion photographers, fashion editors in the business. So I feel to shoot on location in wild places, I think that to me is such a luxury to still get to do that. And we definitely don't take it lightly. It's the sort of beating heart of our editorial offering and our business. So to me, that's the complement to these wild, juicy, newsy enterprise stories I was talking about earlier. Is you also want to be inspired, and you want that inspiration and the kind of beautiful production quality that, frankly, in this climate, fewer and fewer places can really pursue. So we're very lucky to be supported in that. And then, yeah, as you said, love to be growing. We don't,
We love that.
It's painful to shrink and it's wonderful to grow. So I'm so lucky that Emma has kind of supported us as we grow and get bigger and bigger.
That's amazing. And finally, just a broad question, because this episode of The Stack organically, almost accidentally, became a bit of a New York special. And I want to ask, is New York still a great city for media and to be a journalist?
I think so.
Good.
Oh my gosh. Also, today is the first, if I can take you inside, as a former London resident myself, I can tell you today is one of those magical New York days where it's the hint of fall, a little chill has entered the air, and everyone is in their summer black. They're cool. We're starting to get away from white jeans. We're sort of inching into fall clothes. It's a beautiful, crisp day. There's lots of news in the air. Outlets are we're about to have New York Fashion Week. We're about to enter European Fashion Week, where there's a ton of huge debuts of new creative directors. Everyone's really excited about the amount of fashion news that's going to come out that week. There's Frieze, there's art news. There's lots of, the Emmys are going to start soon. There's lots of things coming, in the few months that kind of make the city come alive and are fun to cover. I still think it's a great journalism city. I still think it's a great media city. And I think to be at the Journal right now, to be, in this privileged position at the magazine right now, we definitely have wind in our sails. I would say that.
Thank you very much, Sarah. You can get your copy of the WSJ magazine together with the Wall Street Journal if you are in the US, or go to WSJ.com. Let's move along to a new magazine mecca in New York City. It's called Library 180, founded by former colleagues at V Magazine, Nikki, Igol, and Chaiken. The new reference library is vast and open to the general public, who are free to peruse the many titles out there. Maybe you're keen to look at that old copy of one of your favorite titles, go on a Helmut Newton's in-depth research, or who knows, even pay a visit to their smut room. I had a great conversation with both Nikki and Steven about the new space.
I've been collecting since 11 years old, and so my collection spans 30 plus years. And oftentimes I had friends who were in the creative industry, photographers, creative directors, artists, and they would come over to my home and do research. And it was such a pleasure and joy to sort of suggest things and go through my collection with them and see the reaction when they find what they needed. It was just fun for me to do it. So I wanted to make this a public thing and open it up to people everywhere to be able to, just discover these images.
That's brilliant. And Steven, I know you both knew each other because you were co-workers at V Magazine. So tell us a bit more. So there's been a relationship there, but were you also kind of a collector?
Yeah, so Nikki and I worked together in sort of the early aughts, I would say. And then, kind of went on our sort of separate ways through our respective careers and sort of lost touch for quite a few years. And, saw her years later at the Odeon and we decided to sort of reconnect and had a coffee and caught up. And yeah, Nikki was sort of just kind of talking about sort of this idea that she had, and it immediately sort of resonated with me. I co-founded an artist representation agency, SM37. So we work with a lot of artists, multidisciplinary artists, photographers, filmmakers, creative directors. And so, outside of just being, kind of a lover of, sort of print publications, I think that this sort of resource that Nikki had in mind, I saw the sort of true value, and it resonated with me on so many different levels.
And I think, Nikki, for example, that there's a desire for a space like this, because I don't know if it's just my social media accounts, but I look on Instagram, there's so many references to old issues of magazines, a beautiful photo shoot in the 80s or in the 70s or whatever age. But this is a space where you can actually see the physical product. You can see the artist, you can touch it, you can feel it, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I pride this place on being not precious because, I purchased every issue here, and oftentimes I had to get the cheapest copy. So it came to me in bad condition, and I'm an image researcher by trade. And so I would break the spines of the magazines to get scans of the images to give to my clients. And so I'm very rough on these. When you come in here, there's no need to, this is not a white glove, hushed library. We encourage people to get in there and just crack it open and not be fussy. And people really do appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think the sort of process of actually going to the library and sort of discovering from Nikki's collection, she's being a little humble now. Nikki's eye, if I can just say, is incredible. The archive that we've started with at Library 180, every single publication that she's sort of pulled and sort of specifically chosen for archive and now for the library is so well curated, and there's so much incredible imagery and visuals and stories to discover within the walls of the library. And so the process also of people coming into the space and seeing what catches their eye, or finding and discovering, pulling magazines physically, opening them up, seeing like the layouts and how one image reacts to another within the context of the publication is such an important part, I think, of the creative process, and something that like increasingly we're sort of losing, right, as we like turn to kind of digital mediums to sort of find imagery. And so I think just personal, I mean, we've had an incredible response over the last couple of weeks that we've been open, but personally, like I find that process of actually like going into the library and pulling publications that are true discoveries, both the publications and then sort of finding the images within. I think there's a process there that like the physicality of it is so inspiring, and you find things from there and you can kind of like direct your eye towards certain things, and it's such an important process that I think increasingly we're sort of losing in how we're sort of finding and interacting with images now.
Yeah. I mean, I know that all of the images that are within these magazines really do not live online. It's my job to know. And I love discovering what people discover here. Like, they'll oftentimes post it on their Instagram, and I'll look at their Instagram stories and be like, wow, that is an awesome image.
Yeah.
I've seen it before, but in a context through someone else's eyes, it turns into something else, honestly.
Because, for example, I love looking at ads from that time. I think, it does tell something about society as well. I think it's so important in a way.
Ads are specifically interesting to me. I have a large archive of books and magazines that are dedicated to the art of the advertisement. And I miss old ads, honestly. You had to put so much more thought and creativity towards them, especially while like making a picture. It's typography and it's words and it's format and placement and all that. But the photography that went into old ads, it's just gone. It's gone.
Nick, can we do a book plug here?
Oh, I suppose so.
we love a book plug. We love a book plug.
We love a book plug. Okay. This is a good segue to a Nikki book plug.
I'm shy about it. But I came out with I started like a book series, and it's all advertisements, thematically broken into different series. And the first one I did was restaurant ads between 1981 and 1998. And it's really resonating with people because specifically New Yorkers, maybe you didn't shop at a certain store or you didn't buy a certain brand of clothing, but the restaurants touched everyone here in the city. People, when they look at the book, you can see that like it touches something inside of them. Like, it's very nostalgic for people. It's a hit, but I knew it would be, and for that reason, like, just these photos are kind of burned in your memory if you've lived in New York long enough. It's a very special book.
Can you buy a copy at Library 180?
Well, you can't buy a copy. You can certainly see one here, but it's available worldwide. So it's easy to get. You can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And local bookstores.
It's an incredible sort of compilation. I think to your point, Fernando, like, opening up the publications in the library, the stories that people usually reference, I think, and that you can kind of see references of like, oh, this Helmut Newton story or what have you, like, is something that you see a lot of online. But the ads in these publications don't get sort of the kind of credence or the promotion that they really should. And I think that everyone who's listening should buy a copy of Nikki's book on Amazon, because it's incredible to see that sort of curation of them too, and see them in that context is so incredible. And they're really creative. I mean, I think that there was an ad for Mr. Chow that was actually shot by Helmut Newton.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Wow.
No, there's ads that are shot by, from not in this specific book, but there are ads that are shot by Mapplethorpe, and it's like people really hired the most amazing photographers, set designers. The concepts were amazing. And I try to highlight ads as much as I can on our Instagram feed because I think that they are an art form unto themselves.
I couldn't agree more. As I said, I do look for old titles because of the ads sometimes.
Yeah.
I hear you. I absolutely hear you.
I want to talk as well a little bit about the space itself. Of course, I'm going to New York end of October. I want to pay a physical visit.
Amazing.
Oh,
It
please do.
looks beautiful because, of course, when people are, you're imagining Library 180, dealing with those old titles might be a little bit dusty, a little bit, but the place looks amazing. The view is incredible. It's lush. Tell us a bit more about the location.
For me, I mean, I've spent a lifetime going through archival book and magazines, and it's the same environment. It's in a basement. These pages are, they have a shelf life and they don't age well. Like, it's the nature of the material to disintegrate. And oftentimes it's packed away. They're dirty, it's hard to keep them in nice condition. I wanted people to come in here and feel lightness and expansion. I want your mind to clear when you come in, to open it up for the visuals that you're about to see. And I think people say that is the feeling they get here, where they're just like, they're clear-minded and open to just ingesting imagery.
Yeah. I think creating sort of an inspiring space that people can come in and like actually view the things. Because to Nikki's point, it's like, what sort of exists are either sort of incredible collections that are in storage or a basement somewhere, or like incredible sort of institutional collections that feel a little bit sort of, not so kind of accessible, right? And so I think finding that sort of middle ground, and for people listening that can't see Nikki's at the library right now, and she's like enveloped in light. I mean, it's incredible.
Literally.
So there's like full corner
it's literal
of
heaven.
Totally full corner of sort of light, and the sort of visual inspiration of it, honestly, like from how the sort of shelving is customized to the seating, really came from inspiration images that Nikki pulled from her archive. Like everything really goes back to the archive, pulled from the archive that she sort of reacted to, and we had kind of built out the space. A few other highlights for me within the space, if I can say, outside of the archive, which I need to bring up, Nikki. I'm sorry. It's like one of my favorite. It's something, honestly, that's something I found out like almost after we had launched. But Nikki is an incredible needle pointer. So Nikki has this incredible collection of needle pointed images that are from the archive that she loved, that she then needle pointed. And so when you come into Library 180 outside of this incredible space in the incredible archive, you will also be able to sort of sit on these stools that the cushions of the stools are like needle pointed images that Nikki had kind of found. And I mean, I don't know if we're PG here, but in the back, I don't know if you've seen about. So you have this incredible sort of light-filled space.
I was going to ask about the not PG stuff. I like it.
Are we there now? Should we get there?
We're there.
We should get
We're
there.
there.
Okay, we're there.
We're
okay,
live.
I thought so. Yeah, good. So in the back of this space, through like a red chain link curtain, is what we're sort of unofficially referring to as the smut room. And Nikki maybe can talk a little bit more about what that collection entails, because it's a really exciting, when the only thing I'll say here before passing over to Nikki is when we first looked at this space raw, when the space was quite raw and not built out, there was like a little sort of back corner of the space. And we were sort of like kind of debating what we should do with it, if it should become storage or an office. And Nikki said that, she had always sort of had this idea of like having kind of a back room space to fit some of her more racier collection, which she can speak
and
better
Nikki,
to.
Smut can be chic. Smut can be chic, right?
Smut can be chic.
Smut can be so chic.
I agree.
Smut is chic.
So chic, they named a magazine after it called Chic.
Exactly.
That lives in that very smut room. Okay, so like, it's not like big jug titties magazines, it's not like that. It's magazine titles like a great small run from Hamburg, Germany in the 90s called O. It's Viva. It's
Viva, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Anna Winter was actually the fashion and beauty editor, maybe, or just fashion and beauty editor there before she went to Vogue. And the collection Nikki has is incredible. And there's like Jean-Paul Goude sort of incredible Jean-Paul Goude images
Yes.
in that, like, it's an amazing part of the collection.
And so the objects and books and magazines that I have in there, yes, they're racier, sure, but the beauty and the glamour still remain. It's a hearkening to like old French and Italian vogues from the 70s and 80s with like Guy Bourdin. Like the styling is always styled with like a fashion lens to it. The women are glamorous and beautiful. It's not hardcore. It's not penetration. It's a beautiful photo with a slip of a nipple, you know? It's
slip of a nip.
A slip of a nip.
I miss sexy chic. I miss sexy chic.
It's that totally
exactly.
All about sexy chic.
Right.
I find that room very calming too. Like when
what's out here.
When we have like sort of large events in this space, we honestly, people sort of gravitate to that kind of back room. There's something, you know, and the whole space here is like all sort of white and light filled. That back room is painted sort of glossy black. There's like an amazing Pirelli flooring. It's a really nice sort of like visual kind of antithesis to the space, and it's inspiring in a different way.
And most of the art that I collect does have a fetishism reference. Like I love like an Alan Jones and an Eric Stanton. All these artists are represented back there. And my friend Jeanette Hayes has a fantastic piece back there. So most of the artwork that one can see, I like to go to Amsterdam for the fall every year. And I've found incredible pieces of the fetish variety, let's say. And they're just sculptural and gorgeous. And they all live there. It's a beautiful room, truly.
Thank you, Nikki and Stephen. Library 180 is open to the public, and for more information, go to library180.com. And there's also a new magazine conference in town. On September 13th in New York, the very first case-sensitive conference will take place. It is dedicated to shaping the future of print magazines. Presented by Niche and powered by the logical choice, the gathering serves as a central convening for the global print ecosystem. It was a pleasure talking to two of the founding team of Case Sensitive. Aleya Lindsay-Olu, also founder of Periodicals, a magazine shop in Detroit, and Charles Wagner, founder of Paper and Dirt, a book and magazine shop in Pittsburgh.
When I opened Periodicals, which is my shop in Detroit, I learned so much more about publications and sort of what needs to be done, particularly in the US, just around distribution, just the logistics around publication. So we wanted to, we launched this as a convening of thought leaders from across the industry to just shape a smarter, more efficient, and sustainable future for print, particularly here in the States.
And Chaz, you're the same because you also have a shop in Pittsburgh as well, right?
I do, Fernando. Yeah, my shop's called Paper and Dirt in Pittsburgh. The dirt side of it is we skew towards outdoors, getting people outdoors. So we're close to a big city of Pittsburgh Park. Yeah, we're outside of the main publishing and media hub of New York, Aleya and I, in Pittsburgh and Detroit, more in the Midwest of the US. And we wanted to bring this love for magazines, this convening all across, bring everyone from the States and abroad. But we are having it in New York, but we really wanted, and we can tell you more about the attendance, but it's really diverse in terms of geography, but also not just publishers, but printers, distributors, retail shops like ourselves, existing ones. There's some new shops opening that are curious to come and get some knowledge about how to buy, how to sell, how to do events. But yeah, we come from the retail side. A lot of these conferences, it's very publishing and content focused. So we really wanted to represent the entire ecosystem and supply chain of the print magazine world.
And Aleya, it's so nice that both of you are on the retail side, which is so important because we need spaces to buy magazines or any type of print. Do you see any particular challenges talking more about the United States? Because it is always the biggest market for magazines. Even magazines here in Europe, they have such big markets there in the US. But sometimes there's a bit of a struggle to maintain a physical space and sell magazines, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was interesting when we opened periodicals. So, I'm a partner in the store with my husband, Amani Olu, who owns a PR agency, Olu and Company, and we'd known publications and we'd known the insides and outsides of a lot of print media just by nature, just by the work we do. But it was interesting when we opened the shop, so many people had never seen Popeye, for example, in person, which was really interesting to me. And so a lot of publications have media platforms or they're really present on social or they just have become household names, but a lot of people had never held the publication. And I think that really is just due to shipping costs and, not really having an access point. I wouldn't call it a challenge, but it's actually been really insightful to see to, open periodicals, build it, give people an entry point to the print world in a smaller market, or give people who are used to buying publications, access to the print media that they love.
And Charles, I mean, Ale is super correct. There are challenges, but again, there are sort of a revival as well of the magazine shop, and there's more interest, and not just London, New York. We see it everywhere. We see it in Pittsburgh, in Detroit, as you're saying, in other cities in Europe and everywhere. So there is a rising interest, and I think that's good timing for a conference like that, right?
Totally. I mean, I'll plug one of our advisors, and he'll be a panelist at Case Sensitive, is Andrew Simon of Chess Club. He's in Portland, Oregon. They're doing amazing work, tons of events. Alea and I have leaned on Andrew for his guidance, and he's really become kind of on the West Coast of the US, really a hub for the indie magazine scene. There's a few new shops open. There's High Desert Times in Palm Springs, California, Liz Lap, another magazine specific shop, Nicola and in Toronto. I think you've had on the program. There's some new shops opening in Texas, in Dallas, and I want to say Austin. So again, it's not just New York, London, and LA. It's really happening in smaller mid-tier cities.
Alea, tell me more about the conference. So how does it work? I know you have amazing guests. I mean, the lineup is fantastic. Can people go and buy tickets, or will you be offering anything online for those who are interested to find out a bit more about the conference?
Yes, our website is casesensitive.show. Tickets are on sale online. And we have a lineup of panels. It's going to be at WSA. So we have the 17th floor, which is absolutely stunning. And so conversations are taking place in, these different capsules. And we have sort of what we're calling the main stage with just so many relevant conversations to where we exist right now in print, from the media side to the retail side to printing, which even comes down to, paper and all of the interworkings of printing. The conference is powered by our partner, The Logical Choice, who's a printer who's based in Europe, but also has an office at WSA in New York. So lots to bite off for the magazine insider.
You both have magazine shops in the US. So yes, we talk about the challenges, the costs, but I also want to hear the excitement. So maybe Chaz, I'll start with you. In terms of the material you sell in at your shop, magazines, are you excited? Is there still a lot of new titles coming up? And, I wonder if you can tell us a bit more, how's the market for your shop?
Yeah, there's tons of enthusiasm. There's almost too many new titles. I think Alea can agree with that. There's a flurry of new titles. I know you always ask folks what their favorites are. I love Useless Fighters right now. I skew towards sport, outdoors, nature, adventure, and Ramdan. Couldn't get them out here for year one, but maybe we'll get them to a future edition of Case Sensitive. Big, beautiful, big format title. I love Victory Journal. The 11 by 17 format is definitely a favorite in our shop and me as a personal reader. Mountain Gazette, just another one, staying on the mountain theme. And then also what we're selling right now that I really like, and Fernando, you were in there, was Never Too Small.
Yes.
The Melbourne, Australia, kind of about urban dense living. You had a nice piece in there about Japanese vintage magazines. So those are the few that are selling railway right now, and we do try and highlight regional magazines. We've had launches for the Cleveland Review of Books of all titles. There's even West Virginia has a fashion and arts title. So we really try, and there's not a ton of titles here in my region, like New York, but we really try and be a space for launch events for the regional publications.
Great selection. Can you beat that, Alea?
Well, Kaz definitely took mine because we both love Useless Spiders so much.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I think Randan did a great job. I mean, it's almost like a work of art. I had the second issue I was flicking through recently. Very nice one.
It's beautiful. The type, the photography. You know, it's interesting when people come into the shop. I always kind of do this, reading almost. I can just, talk to someone for a few minutes and kind of understand what they might be interested in that they haven't seen before. It's really interesting to point people in the direction that they're looking to. So, I mean, I've always loved Atmos, another just beautifully printed publication. I love what Kevin Hunter is doing at Just Smile. Always great covers. The recent cover features Carmelo Anthony and his son. Beautiful, beautiful photography, great storytelling. I love what Aria Hughes is doing at Complex with the re-release of print over at Complex. I really love how she forges sort of this digital internet world with print. I love what Corey Bishop is doing at Forgotten Lands. I love Vittles, the food publication. The writing is so smart. I mean, there's so many.
Thank you both, Alea and Chas. For more information on Case Sensitive, including lineup and tickets, go to casesensitive.show. And that's it for this week's show. My thanks to our editor, Jack Juras. Any comments or queries, feel free to write to me, Fernando, at fp@monocle.com. And remember, we're back next Saturday at 10 a.m. London time. Meanwhile, you can always listen again at monocle.com or subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You've been listening to The Stack. I'm Fernando Augusto Pacheco. It's goodbye from me.